Let's get started. If I could have everyone's attention. Welcome to this month's Wonderful Wednesday. If you're here to get a sneak preview, exclusive view of what's coming up with the Ecusta Trail and new initiatives with Conserving Carolina and what they're doing, you're in the right place. Otherwise, you're in the wrong place. Wasn't that a wonderful meal? Special thanks, hats off to those involved in preparing and handing out the meal. Ann Rabb and her team, Beth, Donna, Judith, Kristen, Sue. I think I got everybody, right? Thank you very much, all of you. So before I introduce our special speakers this evening, I do want to respectfully request that we hold questions until after the presentations. I want to make sure that we have sufficient time for the presentations, and we've made sure that we've allocated time for questions and answers, all right? If any of you are like me and you're going to forget what you want to ask, I have up here cards and pens if you want to write down your questions, okay? But let's hold off on questions until we get through the presentations. So first I'm going to introduce our speakers, and first is Mark Tooley. Mark is the president of the Friends of Ecusta Trail, and he's going to be giving an update on the current status of the trail, provide information and visuals about what the trail might look like in the future when it's completed. And he's also going to share with us potential connections of the trail with other trails in the counties. Mark, who's retired, joined the Friends of Ecusta Trail Board in 2014 to help advocate for the trail. His service on the Conserving Carolina Board at the time helped facilitate their interest and eventual purchase of the abandoned trail. And also the fulfillment of the years of work by many individuals. He's also served on the Transylvania Economic Alliance Board and Transylvania County's Planning Board, the Transportation Advisory Committee, Cedar Mountain Small Area Plan Committee, and Natural Resources Council. Now, when I first met Mark for the first time planning for this event tonight, he said he was retired. And then I looked at his bio, I was like, what? Mark's going to be presenting first. And when he's finished, he's going to turn the mic over to Carol Roberson, our very own UUTC member and a board member of Conserving Carolina. Carol's going to share additional initiatives in Transylvania County and ways for us to get involved. Carol and her husband, Richard Mills, who's also a member of UUTC, retired to Brevard in 2019. They've been active with Conserving Carolina since 2020, serve on the French Broad Stewards, Education, and Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion committees. In addition to her board duties, Carol's also on the Development Committee. She has graduate degrees in soil science, clinical psychology, and taught human development and family study courses at Auburn University for many years. While at Auburn, she served on the boards of the Women's Resource Center and the Sustainability Initiative. You'll see her around town hiking, running, paddling, and gardening with native plants. So at this point, let's welcome our two speakers.
Thank you, Michael. I met Carol and Richard also through Conserving Carolina through the French Broad Stewards, and I actually built Ann and Earl Rabb's house when I was first starting out in custom home building, and glad to see them again. I haven't seen them in many years. You need more volume? All right. Well, thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for the meal as well. When Michael asked me if I wanted to eat, I said, well, I'll never turn down a meal, so I was glad to have that. I'm going to get on through this because Michael's got me on the clock, so we'll go on through. Just want to give you, as he said, give you an update of where we are right now, where we're going, and what some of the things we still have to do as the trail is under construction now. Oh, great. Oh, I forgot we got to turn this on. Here we go. Wanted to give everybody a little history just to see sort of how we got where we're at. The rail line was finished between Hendersonville and Brevard in 1895, and a few years later was extended up to Lake Toxaway. Its original use was to bring people in. Since then, it's been used for industry, resource extraction, that sort of thing. It's come full circle now, and we're going to use it for human transportation again. The paper mill, which it was its main client, closed in 2002, and in 07 through 09, groups organized and started to advocate for reusing that rail line as a trail. In 2012 was a main sort of spark plug that got things going. Was us and City of Hendersonville got a grant to do a planning and economic analysis study, which we used to advocate with our elected officials and our local businesses. In 2014, Norfolk Southern sold the rail line to Watco, or Blue Ridge Southern Railroad, and they said, give us 5 years to try to market that rail line to other users, which they did. And then 2019, finding no customers on that rail line, they indicated their willingness to sell. In 2021, through a grant from the state of North Carolina, the Department of Transportation, Ecusta Rails to Trail LLC, which is a subsidiary of Conserving Carolina, bought that rail line for $8.5 million, something like that. And so we now had possession of it. And you probably saw the news this last year. The city of Brevard and NCDOT applied for grants from the federal government. They applied for 2 of them from the Federal Highway Administration, and unbeknownst to them, they awarded both of them for the same project, which will never happen again. They've assured us. There are silos in our federal government, believe it or not. We did groundbreaking. Some of you have indicated that you were there in October of last year over at the Veterans Healing Farm in I guess it's Hendersonville. And in December, we actually started moving dirt on that first 6-mile section. It'll go from Main Street in Hendersonville to Horseshoe, where it intersects US 64 there. We have worked very closely with Conserving Carolina for the last 2 years, their development folks, to do a capital campaign to raise the matching funds for those federal grants, which are required in order to receive them. And we got 2 generous grants from our local tourism development authorities, both Henderson and Transylvania County. The current status, that first 6-mile segment's under construction. It'll be finished, I heard this morning. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to be done in December of this year. The design and engineering for the Transylvania County portion is underway, with that completion towards the end of this year. I heard this morning it's probably going to go into next year. You'll be hearing more about that. There'll be some public input sessions on that. and the design and engineering for the remaining 5 miles in Henderson County is currently underway. The plan is to get those design and engineering studies done concurrently and construct the remaining, I guess it would be 13 or so miles, both in Henderson and Transylvania County at the same time. So we'll finish the trail up in one fell swoop. It'll be a paved trail the entire length. It'll be 14-foot wide, mainly in Hendersonville and Oral Park, and 12-foot wide in the rural areas. The goals of the trail are to build and operate it as a single trail. We don't want users to have to know what town they're in or what county they're in. It will connect the two downtowns, which is really unique. It'll serve as an economic engine for the region. And we're already seeing in Henderson County businesses pop up. If you've, over in the Trailside Brewing over there in the old Lowe's building in Laurel Park is already redeveloped. We've seen, if any of you have been through Travelers Rest for the last 10 or so years, you've seen the transformation there. It will transform the communities that it goes through. It'll provide, we love to say this, recreation, outdoor recreation opportunities for all ages and all abilities. We get pushback from some of our local elected officials about we've got enough trails, we don't need any more trails. But this you know, we see it on the Brevard bike path. I see people in wheelchairs pushing strollers, that sort of thing, and that's what this is all about. And it'll provide an alternative mode of transportation. We've got a tremendous number of people that would love to commute to work or to church. I believe your minister, you told us that you ride US 64 on your bicycle, and I said, well, it's a good thing you go to church on Sunday. I use you as an example when people push back on that. What we're doing now, we're going to rebrand the Ecusta Trail, get a fresh new brand out there. We're working on a website for the Friends of Ecusta Trail, that's what FOID is, which will be the landing page for all people that want to find out about the trail. We suspect it'll bring people, a number of people in from out of the area. We are working on a common signage design for the trail, design and placement of amenities. We continue to fundraise for those amenities. Working very closely with Brevard and Henderson County. They are the two entities that will, quote, own the trail. And we're starting a Trail Partners program where we'll partner with different businesses along the trail to provide, especially initially, provide parking, restrooms, that sort of thing, and get recognition for that. And we'll have plenty of volunteer opportunities once it is built. We don't have too many right now. Trail Ambassador program we're envisioning where volunteers will be out there on the trail riding their bikes or walking to help guide users or answer questions. I mentioned the amenities. The federal grants that we got were to build a trail. They weren't to provide benches or shelters or that sort of thing. So we're having to raise money for those. Those amenities are really what makes a good experience on a greenway or on a trail. Skip by the next one. A trailhead. People want to know where the trail starts. This is an example of one on the C&O towpath where you have a sort of a grand entrance, and you'll have parking there, restrooms, a lot of informational signage and maps to help guide people. This is an example of wayfinding signage. The good, not so good. You know how those old wooden signs, painted wooden signs, fade out after a while. So we're going to try to do it right the first time. Mile markers, in the industry, they call them confidence markers, so you know where you're at on the trail. And in case of emergency, what to do. Rules, everybody's got rules. We want to make it safe and enjoyable usage for everybody, especially in the congested areas. I don't think it'll be so bad out in the open, but we're working with the city of Brevard and Henderson County because they both operate greenways now, and they have not exactly the same set of rules, so we're trying to merge those two. Maps, everybody loves maps, especially on each end as people get into the cities, kind of try to guide them into the local businesses and that sort of thing. Interpretive signage, we've gotten a lot of interest from different groups, Conserving Carolina being one, to educate users along the trail. We've got a number of, it follows the French Broad River for quite a while. We've got the history of the railway that we would like to accentuate. We would like to, as the name Ecusta sort of insinuates, we'd like to recognize the Native Americans that were here before any of us. This is a very nice trailhead feature. It's got a bike repair station there on the left in the shadows. It's got on the right, on the other side of the garden, is a set of drinking fountains. It's got places to park your bikes. It's got a shelter in the back and restrooms. And of course, along the way, places to sit, places to get out of the sun. If we get a shower, it never rains here, but in case we get a shower, you got a place to stay dry. And then benches, just probably more in the urban areas for people just to get out for a short walk and sit and enjoy nature. And then pocket parks along the way. This is, again, something that Conserving Carolina has talked about to show off maybe some of the native species. One of our board members recently did a presentation to I believe it's the Blue Ridge Garden Club, and they're interested in doing some things along the trail. We had, during our capital campaign, we had around 100 people that donated enough money to be recognized as donors. So we'll have to work donor recognition into structures that we build along the way, and we're working on sorting that out now. And trail art, that's the fun part. We're an artist community, so I can't wait to see what happens. I'm sure some of you've seen the one down at the Depot Park. I guess it's a ballerina. Everybody says it looks like the mayor, but I won't tell her that. And then future connections. This is kind of an old busy map of the trail, but on each end we have two cities, and we will connect on the Brevard end. And I was in a meeting this morning about what Hendersonville is doing to connect their end to the Okawaha Trail, which is an existing trail there that starts in Jackson Park and runs north and is envisioned to eventually go to Westfelt Park there by the airport, where it will intersect the Buncombe County Trail System. This is part of Henderson County's Greenway Plan. And it's, again, a kind of a busy map, but it shows several proposed trails. I've been talking to one of the town council members in Mills River about trying to connect over from Horseshoe down the river over to 191, where there's going to be a new road project that'll have a greenway associated with it to be able to cut across there. The Hellbender Trail System is a regional trail system that the Land to Sky Regional Council is coordinating between Henderson County, Transylvania County, Haywood County, Buncombe County, and Madison County to try to have a plan for a trail system. And this shows there in the orange, the Okawaha. Part of it is built and envisioned to go all the way up to Westfeld Park. And then a new initiative that Conserving Carolina has taken on in the last year or so that you may have heard about is the Saluda Grade Trail, the old rail line that runs from, I guess, right now Zirconia down to Inman, South Carolina. It's like 31 miles. And we are working with their Greenway and Trails coordinator on trying to figure out how to connect the Ecusta Trail to that future trail when it's built. And this shows this is where it will intersect what Brevard calls the Estato Trail. That to the right of that circle is Oscar Blues. Above the circle is the hospital, and that's where the two trails will intersect. There is some conversation in the city now about potentially extending the Ecusta Trail all the way to the rail depot and make that the start of the Ecusta Trail. And actually part of that right there behind the rail depot is the old rail bed. A lot of people don't know that, but that section from the rescue squad up to the depot is on an old rail bed. So that's all I have, and as Michael said, we'll take questions towards the end. Yep. And Carol's going to come up next.
Right, so I'm going to put on my Conserving Carolina hat, which kind of matches the screen, I think. It's pretty well color coordinated. So when I'm talking we, then I'll be saying Conserving Carolina. Get this down here. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, all right. I'm not used to talking into a mic. When I taught, I had a little thing I could walk all over and not worry about that. There's something that I just discovered in our stuff over here that I don't have a slide for, and that is, and you guys probably can't see it, but there are cards over here, so if you want one, you can get it. We're having a spring photo contest. We have one every year. I don't know if you get a prize, but then you're famous or something. Something happens. I'm not sure. But anyway, you can enter between April 5th and May 15th. And there are cards over here. I guess I can't leave this place. So there's other stuff over here that's information about Conserving Carolina. A lot of the slides you're going to see, there are handouts for that or other ways you can look at it. There's a sign-up sheet if you want to just hear from us. We have several, I think maybe, sorry, I shouldn't say several, that's scary. One or two things that we send out a month that tells you about special things that have happened, land acquisitions, restorations, that kind of stuff. And then also one that tells you about different events that are coming up. So you get that. We're not going to hound you for money, that kind of stuff. We always give you opportunities, but we're not going to hound you. So there's a lot of information over here if you want to look at any of that after this whole thing is over with. Okay, so then I'm going to start with this. This gives our service area. I'm not going to talk very much about any of these slides, but you can see it's a pretty big service area. There were two separate land conservancies that came together in March. When did they come together? 2000 and... Yeah, something around there. Yeah, a little while ago. But anyway, so we serve a fairly big region. We have a lot of events down in Polk County. I've left those out of the slides, but again, if you go online, it'll show all of our events, things that are coming up for that area. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about any of that today. A couple things that are fairly recent here in Transylvania County. Y'all probably know that we helped the city get the Bracken, add 34 acres to the Bracken Preserve. So that happened, I forget, last fall or something like that. And the next step is to build trails. that are going to be, if you guys hiked over there or biked over there, it's when it starts off a little steeply, right? And so they're going to make it a little easier to sort of get up and into the preserve. So that's coming down the line. They're talking about a few miles over there. And then even more recently, they acquired 18 acres of land over, where you turn off the old Hendersonville Highway onto Everett. And for a while, there was that rafting thing going on down over there. But they bought that piece of property. And it's the property is actually, I didn't say this, but it's kind of a mess. It's mostly a bunch of stuff that's non-native and so forth. But they're going to help restore it. There's going to be this French Broad River paddle trail, and that will help to, as part of the restoration. There may be camping for paddlers there eventually. I'm not sure what all, but that was another big thing that they did recently here. Okay. I'm going to talk about some ways you guys can get involved if you're interested. As Michael said, I'm on the board. Richard and I just started out volunteering, and when we first got here, and they wanted somebody from Transylvania County, and I could hear, and he couldn't hear as well, so they said, how about you, join us on the board. But, a lot of times when we think about volunteering for a land conservancy, we think we got to go pull weeds, which you're certainly welcome to pull any invasive you want, but we have a lot of committees. And where the thing I like about it is I can use some of my professional skills, not just my pulling weeds skills. So I am on we call it the EDI committee, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And I chair that. And so I get to bring in a bunch of stuff that I used to talk about, when I was teaching. We have the development committee. I'm on that. I'm not really good at fundraising or any of that kind of stuff, but for people who have skills like that or putting on events, that's, I think, a really great committee to be on. Richard's on the education committee. Conserving Carolina puts on tons of talks and events and so forth. And then, what's the other committee I wanted to mention? There's also land protection, where you're actually involved in helping them preserve land and stewardship. But again, all these committees you can be on as a volunteer and bring your skills that you have to those committees. We always need folks. We especially need folks on the EDI committee. I really would like some help there. Then the other thing in the yellow is tabling and outreach. We do a lot of tabling. Some of the places that you can see Richard and I this spring and summer, the Conserving Carolina will be tabling at the White Squirrel Festival coming up. We're going to be in Hendersonville Pride. We were there last year. And then we'll be doing Riverfest, which is later in June. Okay, there's a spring hiking series. I'm not going to read these for you. I can't even see that far. But there are a couple of these that you'll notice are in this area. The Daniel Ridge Trail. I have a cheat sheet up here, so they're doing that. And the one at DuPont, the Bridal Veils, Falls Veils. There are monthly forest bathing events. Have you guys heard of these? Those are over at Transfiguration Preserve. And they have like yoga in nature or art in nature, those other things that you can read there. And that's a really popular series of events. Goes on year-round. So that's something you might look at if you're interested in those kinds of things. There's a seed and swap program that runs regularly. There's an Etowah Library series right now, but there's only one thing coming up, which is May 1st. You can go on to Conserving Carolina to their events section and sign up. Most of these talks, you have to have, and walks, you have to have reserved spaces. So go on the website and look for the events, and you can sign up there. We have a green drink series that's in Hendersonville, talking about different issues. And that one you don't have to, I don't think, have to RSVP for that one. But they're doing that. They tried to do it some online in the pandemic, kind of sort of gave up, and they're back at it. Well, if you hit the right button, maybe it'll work. There we go. Okay, the Hendo Earth Fest, we're doing some stuff with that, did I just go by? I think I just went by the speaker series at Walnut Preserve. But again, that's about an hour and a half from here. So there are things like plastic pollution solutions, some other kind of sort of monthly-ish talks, and you can go on the website if you're interested in going. But it's about an hour and 15 from our house here in Brevard over there. New adventures, new moments. So they've tried doing a bilingual walking series for a while. It kind of was okay, but now they're trying to make it where the walks are more walks than hikes. And I've highlighted a couple that are going to be here in Brevard. Then Riverfest is coming up. This is a great thing to bring the kids to, if you know kids. And it's, I think it's June 15th. Richard and I will be tabling for that as well. So they have the day, the 10 to 3, that they've got different things. You can be in a canoe race. They have other kind of things in the water and different vendors there. But a pretty good kid event. And then to accompany that, they have some other events like creek fishing in western North Carolina that you can sign up for. And then they're going to have some other talks that go along with it. So here's a list of some of the talks that are coming up related specifically to the French Broad River. And again, you can look online and see those. And again, those you have to sign up for. Let's see. And then in the fall, we're going to have the conservation celebration. It's a yearly fundraising celebration. It's going to be in the Blue Ridge Community College in Hendersonville. This will be we've never had it there before, so we're going to try this out. But it'll be music, dinner. We're going to have a little program. You get updates about what's going on, and you get to meet other members. You guys have probably seen this. You can look on the website. Donna and I have done a couple of these hikes, and Richard's done some of the hiking challenges that they have. And then you can always get involved as a member, and you can do that either sign up over here and we'll contact you, or you can go online and become a member. And, you know, we do what we do because people give us money. Sometimes big bucks, like for, you know, the Ecusta Trail and Saluda Trail, but all the dollars that people give help. And one of the things I didn't know when I started is you can pick a project. You can either give direct, you know, to the whole organization, or you can say, hey, I'm really interested in Bracken Preserve. I'd really like to help donate to getting those trails made because I want to be walking soon. And so you can, you know, specify where your money goes. Okay, I think that's all I've got for you.
Just want to add a couple things, add some color to a couple things Carol said. The celebration in September, I've been to a couple of those, and they're so much fun. So if you want to really get to know Conserving Carolina, you want to meet members and have a really nice time, they have a beautiful buffet, and there's a bar, and it's great. It's really good. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, the hikes that Carol talked about. I've done a couple of those as well. Gravelly Falls is one. If anybody's interested in doing any of those and would like to have a companion to go along and plan it ahead and so forth, give me a call, okay? Many of you know I'll take every opportunity to hike that I possibly can. All right? All right, so with that, let's open it up for questions. Anybody have any questions on the Ecusta Trail, Conserving Carolina? Ian.
Mark, this question's for you. I've been on quite a few Rails to Trails throughout the country, and I think it'd be important if you could just expand a little bit more on what this design and engineering's all about. It's just not, we got a trail, we just clear off the weeds and put down something and off we go. There's a lot more involved with what's going on. So if you could expand on that just a little bit, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, be glad to. Yeah, it's more involved than even I thought. When the railroad built the rail line, they didn't care about drainage, they didn't care about wetlands, they didn't care about the rivers or anything else. They cared about building a railroad. So all those things are having to be fixed now as we do this. It's going to take 2 years to do the design and engineering. We've got 17 bridges that have to be engineered and designed, 2 big ones over the Davidson River and the French Broad. They plan to use a lot of the French Broad River structure and redeck it. And we're also working with Federal Highway Administration, and NCDOT has taken over both of these grants. So we got 2 bureaucratic organizations that we're dealing with as well. Plus we got Fish and Wildlife, got Corps of Engineers. On the regulatory side, tell me when to stop.
Let me just point out, I think that's very important because that is a good thing that we're doing because that's a bragging thing we can say. When this trail is in place, look, we have done all these things to bring it up to where we want it to be. So it's going to be a much, much better thing. It's good things that we can sell.
Well, and part of the grant applications were around sustainability, and we're trying to build it to be there for a long time. We thought about trying to reuse some of the bridges, but especially when we got the second grant, it was like, let's go ahead, we'll put in steel structures, something that'll be there for a while. Something inadvertently that the railroad did was create a number of wetlands along the rail line, and those will be worked around and cared for. I'm sure Conserving Carolina will be involved in that as well. But there's a number of wetlands that have inadvertently been created.
Thank you. Peter?
This also is for Mark. I think you anticipated my question, but when you come up 64 to Brevard and make the giant turn at the Ecusta Reservoir, all of the land on your left between the road and the river, which includes the trail, is just nasty, wet, damp, oil overlay. Is there going to be a plan to make that a wetland that has more integrity to it?
We're restricted in the grants to working only within the railroad right-of-way, which in that area is 50 foot each side of the rail line. The owner of that land, to my knowledge, won't sell a piece of it. They want to sell the whole 580 acres of the Ecusta site. So hopefully in the future, when that does get peeled off, there'll be an opportunity to work in that area. The Davidson River actually cuts through there too. You see a lot of people used to park there and go down and fish. On another note, I don't know their exact name, but the Transylvania County birders have approached the city about building a bird observation area, probably between where it crosses the old Hendersonville Highway and where it crosses Davidson River Road. It's kind of an elevated section there. Believe it or not, the best birding area in Transylvania County is that old settling pond, 80-acre settling pond. Right now there's a church up on Davidson River Road. They've gotten permission there's some stairs that go up to a small platform, and the birders go up there and observe some migratory, some permanent residents. There's, bald eagle. There's a pair of bald eagles in that area, but that's the #1 birding area in Transylvania County. So the city's going to work with those folks to try to make that happen.
Mark, I would like to ask you about a survey that I was asked to participate in, and it was about the establishing of sidewalks, greenways, and one of the places that was named was Osborne Road, which connects, of course, Old Hendersonville Highway to 64 Asheville Highway. Can you talk about that at all? Are there plans for a greenway along Osborne Road?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
The one I'm aware of is to upgrade Old Hendersonville Highway between where, they're by Ingalls all the way down to where Ecusta Road. I was on the Transportation Advisory Committee when we considered that project. The city wants to modernize that road, it needs it, and put sidewalks or a greenway there. And the other big need is Neely Road, the east side of Brevard. There's no pedestrian facility there as well. But yeah, maybe we can get that link out and everybody can fill it out. But it's been widely broadcast. The Land to Sky is trying to get input on all these projects.
Questions? Mark, can you talk a little bit about, you've got here, as you can tell, quite a few interested individuals. UUTC is known in the community to do a lot of good things, move mountains when we need to. What would you say if you had to make a pitch to UUTC as to how we can help advance the trail? What would your pitch be?
Well, one obvious one is to talk to our commissioners and get them on board, but I would hate to tell people to waste their breath. Peter does that all the time. So does Alice. But I worked on them for a long time, and then I just quit wasting my time. It's a shame, but eventually, hopefully, they'll come on board. Once it's built, the city is going to need help. They do not have a Parks and Rec department. And they are going to basically extend their jurisdiction 8 miles out into the county. And if the county's not going to help, then they're going to need help. And we're trying to organize and help them any way we can maintain the trail. But there'll be opportunities to do that.
Do you envision when you mentioned those amenities are not, you can't use the grant funds for those amenities?
We can use a few of the grant funds, and we have trying to raise money to do the rest. Henderson County didn't even, in their design and engineering grant, they couldn't even design those amenities or find a place for them. So we're trying to pool our resources and work towards that, because everybody I've talked to, I said, well, what's the most important amenities? And restrooms and parking are the two top ones.
Do you envision campaigns of any sort, specific targeted campaigns to build bathrooms or do the signs?
I think that's what's going to happen in the future as soon as we sort everything out as far as the available funds and the available need. Again, anything we do, we have to work within that 100-foot. It's not even 100-foot all the way, but we have to work within that railroad right-of-way with grant funds. We can't go outside of those. And there's also restrictions. I didn't even talk about rail banking, but that's how Conserving Carolina purchased the rail line. Rail banking was a Reagan-era change to the National Trails Act, whereby existing rail lines could be rail banked or preserved for use for trail use and preserved for future use in case you need a rail line again in the future. Or I'm not even sure, we don't know what transportation's going to be in the future, but once they're gone, they're gone. I think the folks in Rosman are going to be sorry that rail line is gone between Brevard and Rosman, because I think they could have really benefited by something like a trail going up there.
Any other questions?
Who is going
Hold on, we're recording this.
Who will provide security for this? You've got two counties, and our county here has its sheriff's department. Are they aware of they will be needed, and who will police it?
I really can't answer that for this county. I think those discussions are ongoing. Henderson County, being, quote, the owner of the trail over there, their sheriff's department's all on board. Their fire departments are all on board with emergency type situations. So, and they've got the city of Hendersonville and Oil Park, which each have police departments as well, which will be responsible for their jurisdictions. So the last I heard, the city of Brevard may have to actually police the trail. Now, once you get outside of the trail, that falls to the sheriff's department. I have not had a conversation. David Mahoney was on board with it when he was sheriff. I have not talked to the current sheriff to find out what his feelings are. But these things tend to self-police themselves. People talk about crime and all this sort of stuff. We've got hundreds of miles of trails in our national and state forest, and you don't hear about crime being a problem. The biggest problem is the parking area, somebody breaking into cars. The sheriff's department that patrols the Swamp Rabbit Trail, their biggest thing is carrying Band-Aids for skinned knees and that sort of thing. And that's, David Mahoney recognized that it's a great opportunity, especially in the day and age we are with law enforcement. It's a good public relations palette out there to talk to people and show, small children that cops aren't bad. So we'll see.
Any other questions? I got two. Betty?
I know there's been resistance from landowners who are adjacent to the trail. Any updates on that? Is that going to hurt any of the movement of the trail?
No, we tried to reach out early, and the city reaches out. They're doing a quarterly newsletter that's being physically mailed to each adjoining landowner, and there'll be more public input sessions as the trail is built. For the most part, there's not much resistance, unless you listen to one of our county commissioners who happens to live along there. I saw a quote, I think that's going to be in, what day's today? Wednesday, tomorrow's paper, where he said something at the Rosman Town Alderman meeting, that it's a communist plot. So,
I was going to ask sort of what Patty asked about the landowners, has that been resolved? But I'd also like to ask, are there any other sort of hanging chads, if you will, issues that really have not been resolved but could, if they don't get resolved, could be a real thorn in the side to the project?
no.
Ooh,
We've got the money, we've got the city of Brevard. Please thank them every chance you get for stepping up. Thank our local TDA for their generous grant towards the trail as well. But no, we're legally entitled to do what we're doing.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Mark, I'm curious, you mentioned that there are differences in the rules on trails between the two counties, and since I'll be traveling both counties, what What's that going to mean to a person biking from Etowah to Brevard?
Well, you'd be happy to know that Henderson County wants the trail open 24/7, so you can commute to work, not totally, if not during just daylight hours, which is what most trails do. They're not insurmountable. It just, I'll commend both Henderson County and City of Brevard. They are working very well together, and I always joke, a city and a county don't usually work together, but when they're in separate areas, they work very well together. But when they're close together, they don't work so good together. But no, Henderson County Parks and Rec already has a whole volume of rules and regulations, so we'll work through that. It won't be, and I don't think it'll be anything very restrictive. I posed the question today to the Henderson County Rail Trail Advisory Committee, because people are starting to ask, they want to buy equipment to use on the trail and about e-bikes. And there probably won't be a regulation on e-bikes. It'll be a speed limit type thing. So those sorts of things got to be worked out.
Any other questions? Any closing comments? Mark? Carol?
No, just thanks for the opportunity to come out. Glad to do it anytime. And we're probably going to have an event, I hope, this summer to kick off the new brand, to kick off the new website and sort of jumpstart everything. And I don't know where or when, but if I can get my my events committee to take that challenge on, we'll probably do it at one of the breweries, be my guess.
If it's a brewery, we'll be there.
Right.
Very good. Thank you, and hopefully. So before you leave, feel free to have a quick chat with Mark or Carol. Also, as Carol mentioned, before you leave, stop and see if you have any take-home materials you want to take with you. So thanks, everybody, for another successful, wonderful Wednesday. We have one coming up in May, the second Wednesday in May. Any of you remember when Friction Farm was here for a Sunday service? They're coming for a wonderful Wednesday in May. So mark your calendar. May 12th, I think it is the second Wednesday. So mark your calendar for that. And everyone with the storms tonight, tomorrow, please stay safe.